and you can see what it does. It gives it a nice look, a softer look. Even the skin tones are less pronounced. So this has got to be one of those accessories that if you've never used it or never tried it before, you're not going to miss it. However, after using this for photo and for video, it has now become part of my essentials accessory kit, and I can tell you confidently that if I ever lost mine or damaged mine, I'd go out tomorrow and grab myself a new one. So the main characteristics for me of a mist filter is that it blooms the highlights, it gives it a nice halation, and to me it also softens the edges of subjects very nicely, and basically takes that digital edge off in photography and videography. Example, on my Fuji Bodies, Fuji is known for very sharp lenses, 16 to 55, especially on my 90mm f2. I tend to use the Pro Mist filter on that particular lens more so than other lenses. Reason being, the 90mm f2 is a very sharp lens, and I like to soften it up with the Pro Mist filter, and the 1/8 strength for me is a perfect medium if you're going to be using it for photo and for video. So for me, the reason I chose the 1/8 strength is that I'd rather have less than having too much and not being able to remove in post. So there are times when I prefer not using a Pro Mist filter in conjunction with a variable ND filter. For me, that takes a bit too much away from the image. That's obviously if you're using, more cost-effective variable ND filters, and what I'm using currently is not the best quality ND filters. So in that situation, for me personally, I tend to use one or the two. Reason being, the ND filter already gives a tad softness to the overall image, especially when using more cost-effective ND filters. And another situation for me where I don't enjoy using Pro Mist filters is when I'm shooting wide with my 16 to 55 and I'm photographing vehicles. And that is more where I want the subject to pop more. I'll show you some examples where I've actually used Pro Mist filter and without the Pro Mist filter on a vehicle shoot that I've done recently. Yes, when those headlights are on, it makes a huge difference. However, I prefer not using it. Reason being, I prefer in motor vehicle photography, I prefer the subject to pop more and to have sharper edges and definition. And I can say that with the Pro Mist filter, it reduces the overall clarity and contrast of the image. So going forward, me personally, I would not use a diffusion filter when it comes to photographing motor vehicles. And then the situations that I prefer using Pro Mist filter would be, example, this headshot that I'm doing now. And we'll just remove this filter quickly and I can show you what it looks like again without the filter and with the filter. So there we go, that's without the filter, and you can see what it does. It gives it a nice look, a softer look. Even the skin tones are less pronounced. There we go. So yeah, headshots like this, I prefer using ND filters, especially when you're shooting in 4K, but I'm actually shooting this in full HD. And then also portrait photography, reason being, what I didn't mention earlier, it also softens the skin tones nicely. So if you're doing some portrait photography, I would highly recommend a diffusion filter, at least trying it out. And also a situation where your subject is closest to the frame. What I've noticed was that is when the Pro Mist filter delivers at its best, is when the subject is closer to the frame or closer to the sensor or closer to the diffusion filter. That is when it performs at its best. A situation where I also prefer not using these filters are when the subject is not really filling up the frame. Example, maybe landscape shots. There are some situations where landscape shots, it would work very nicely. However, when your subject is further from the frame, it tends to exaggerate the lack of sharpness in that specific image. So for me personally, when the subject is closer in the frame or closer or filling up the frame more, that is when the Pro Mist filter to me shines and it delivers its best. I would highly recommend it. I'm using the KNF Black Pro Mist 1/8 strength. Like I said, there's many other options you can go for. For me personally, the 1/8 is the middle ground for me. So if this video helped in any way, hit the like button. If not, subscribing to this channel. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. Peace out till the next one.